Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. You learn quick that prison got seasons that don't match calendars. There's the cold season where men hibernate behind hard faces. The fight season when the air tastes like iron. The quiet season that ain't really quiet, just everybody reloading. And then there's the bored season, the most dangerous one, where a man with too much time and not enough conscience starts inventing hobbies. That's when Cornell Davis showed up grinning like a salesman at a funeral. Cornell was one of them dudes who seemed friendly by default, smile already loaded, hands open, voice soft like a church usher. He walked a tier for a week learning names, dapping everybody up, remembering who ordered what from commissary like he had a ledger in his school. "I'm just trying to keep the peace, big bro," he'd say. "Peace be with you, my boy," the old heads would mumble back, not knowing they was blessing a storm in human clothes. Ain't many things you can trust inside concrete, not the rumors, not the promises, not the men who talk about God louder than their victims. You trust the count. You trust the lock. You trust that when somebody smiles all day, he either selling something he shouldn't or practicing a laugh for when he does. I peeped Cornell earlier. He had that blank behind the eyes look, like a TV on with the volume muted, channel stuck on snowfall. Not dead inside, just under construction. He'd sit at a table with Calvin Reese and DeAndre Carter, listen to their stories, nod like a therapist, then mirror whatever emotion the room needed. Man could shapeshift without standing up. 2 weeks in, he started a project. "Yo," he said one afternoon, voice smooth, "I know how to make ice cream from scratch." He said it casual, like he was offering directions to the chapel. Ice cream in here is a myth like peace and privacy. Milk powder, coffee creamer, sweetened condensed out the can, a little vanilla packet if you got friends, salt and ice outside, bag and bag trick to freeze it up. You spin that plastic like a rosary and pray the COS don't walk by and ask why your hands are baptized in a grocery bag. "On me," Cornell said, "on the house. I want the unit to feel like summer." He had a little crowd by then. Alicia Green's cousin, Kiana Brooks, works laundry, loud laugh. Jamal Reeves, who fancied himself a comedian. Patrice Johnson's nephew, Jameer Richardson, and a handful of tired men clapping because clapping felt safer than saying nah. Even the CO on duty, Officer Terrence Monroe, different Terrence than the other one I once told y'all about, leaned over the rail and smirked like, "Don't make me write you up for happiness." Cornell posted a sign-up sheet like it was a church picnic. Columns, name, cup size, flavor. He scribbled 2 options, vanilla vanilla and vanilla dream. They the same, of course. And here we rename things so they feel new. I signed it, yeah. Call it curiosity, call it courtesy, call it me wanting to study a man up close who smiled without sweating. I put small and drew a line through flavor like no such thing existed where we live. He got to work. Kitchen trustees funneled him contraband like they were stocking a dream. Lamont Hayes slid him 2 scoops of milk powder. Naomi Taylor from pantry duty palmed him a tiny vanilla vial. Somebody smuggled a bag of ice from medical. Somebody else found a sack of salt. Cornell stood there like a maestro, conducting poverty into dessert. He set up on the end of the day room table with 4 plastic bowls, every move neat like he was auditioning for Food Network, Confinement Edition. "Gotta fold the creamer in slow," he said, "or it'll go chalky." He talked like a teacher whose students kept passing tests he never gave them. Men gathered around, smiling with their shoulders, remembering back porches and birthday songs nobody sings in here. I caught something though, a flicker. The way his eyes lingered on the plastic wrapped squares he kept by his elbow. Little chocolate tabs, X-Lax, the kind COs use when they want to stop the traffic in a man's gut or when somebody stuck something where the sun don't. He rolled the wrapping under his thumb like a coin trick. I watched them tabs disappear under his palm, then reappear above a bowl. He smiled at me like a camera was on. "What you doing there, chef?" I said, voice calm. "Decoration," he said, shoulder shrug. "Texture. People love texture." I laughed without sound and nodded. Sometimes you let a man lie because you want to see his ending flourish. He served 50 cups in under 20 minutes. Men laughed, men hummed, men took that first cold spoon, and for a second, just a second, you could see childhood punch through the concrete. The day room sounded human, which is a rarity worth documenting. Even I took a bite. It was good as contraband prayer can be. Then the clock started. You ain't ever heard a prison turn into a gastrointestinal choir until a prank like that blossoms. At first it was subtle. Guys stretching, rubbing bellies, a wince here, a shift there. Then the rhythm picked up, chairs scraped, feet shuffled. "Yo, I'ma hit the restroom. I'ma hit it too. I'ma hit it right now." Line formed like communion. An hour later, half the unit was hurting, and the bathroom sounded like a storm drain after hard rain. The COS started banging on doors. "Y'all better not be passing no poison." Like, call medical. Who cooked? Who cooked? Cornell stood there, mop in hand like a helpful neighbor during a flood. "Sir, I think somebody's allergic," he said, face all concerned. He even held the trash barrel for Andre Neal while the man tried to decide which end of his soul was exiting first. By lights out, suffering had pulled up a chair and hung in its coat. Men sweated through bed sheets, cursed God, bargained with bacteria, swore off sweets forever like baptism finally took. The whole tier smelled like Lysol and regret. And Cornell sat cross-legged on his bunk, humming some little lullaby like the day had tuckered him out. It took me till morning to piece it how I needed. Not that he did it, why he did it. People say a psychopathic man likes chaos. That's too simple. He like ownership. He want to own what happens next. Your body, your story, the way you tell it, the punchline he already picked. Ain't nothing more possessive than making 50 grown men's stomachs dance to your private drama. By breakfast, word started spreading like mold. Tyrone Briggs said, "Bro spiked us." Celeste Green, the clerk who knew everything, whispered, "He been saving them tabs all week." Chantel Morris pointed at the trash can. "I seen the rappers." The unit turned from fellowship to trial. Eyes cut, voices rose, hands flexed like they remembered work left undone. "Call him out," Kareem Adams said. "Now wait on y'all," Darius Hillman advised, as if sunlight make better decisions. I watched the room choose which version of justice it liked, the loud one or the long one, or the loud one usually wins. Cornell stepped into the day room with his mop like Moses with a staff. He smiled bright, eyes empty. He said, "Morning, family." Family. That word hit the floor like a dropped plate. Keon Butler took 2 steps toward him, hands open and ready for an ending, but Officer Monroe trailed the tear, eyes alert, radios crackling. Cornell locked eyes with me. "Everything good?" he chirped. I said, "Depends what you put in dessert." He blinked slow, like a camera shutter. Then he chuckled, low, private. "Texture," he mouthed. I don't often feel heat behind my eyes, but it rose then, lava slow, not because he got me, because he didn't care who he got, and he wanted that printed in the air. We hit y'all late morning. Half the men couldn't run their laps, system still negotiating peace treaties. A circle formed near the fence. Cornell in the middle, like story hour. Calvin Moore asked, "Why you do that, bro?" Cornell shrugged. "Y'all too serious." Needed a laugh. "People got medical issues," Jalil Carter snapped. "Could have put someone in the infirmary." "Did they die?" Cornell asked, curious as a child, not sarcastic, genuinely curious. Silence tightened his belt. He smiled and looked at the sky like the sun gave him notes. I stepped closer, because sometimes an old voice got to say the quiet part out loud. Listen up, I said, not loud, clear. This wasn't a joke. This was a demonstration. Cornell beamed like I'd announced raffle winners. Demonstration of what? Simone Edwards asked. Control, I said. He wanted to move everybody at once, make 50 bodies jump on cue so he could say in his head, they mine. Cornell giggled. That sound didn't belong to a grown man. It was a wind-up toy getting good at wind. Then Travis King planted a hand in Cornell's chest. Not a punch, a statement. Cornell didn't flinch, just tilted his head like he was collecting data. Touching me ain't gonna uneat nothing, he said. You proud of this? Travis barked. Cornell grinned a little bit. That right there is where it could have gone loud. But the loud ain't always smart. Yard cameras hungry, COs circling like hawks raised on policy, and I cut between them and said, you know what comes next, right? Cornell glanced at the tower, then at the cluster of furious stomachs forming a jury. He knew. Psychopath don't mean stupid. It means you stop paying certain bills decent people keep current. Officer, Cornell called out, sweet as a choir boy. I need to check in. The yard paused like someone hit mute. Protective custody, he added, smiling at us like a man closing a successful show. Why? The CO asked, already knowing. I'm in fear of harm, Cornell sang, words precise like he'd memorized them in the mirror. He turned to us and waved. Y'all be safe, he said. Then he laughed like a kid running downhill. They walked him off the yard past the racket of opinions and the simmer of plans, the man still chuckling like the joke had just reached the good part. You could feel 50 throats swallow unfinished revenge. COS got names for that noise. Compliance. We got another name. Postponement. Back in the unit, all that was left was aftermath. Aftermath in prison is mostly commentary and mopping. Men argued about what to do when the system keeps the man you want. Because once somebody checks in, you ain't supposed to touch him. Paperwork covers cowards like raincoats cover rain. Dre Williams said, when he come back out, we on him. Quincy Foster pointed at the cameras and shook his head. Tamika Houston, one of the kitchen trustees, got real quiet. She ladled Cornell's mixture into cups earlier. Now her eyes carried a pocket of guilt she didn't owe. This on me, she whispered. I helped. It ain't on you, I told her. He used your kindness like it was a tool. That's on him. She nodded, but you could tell the nod weighed more than it used to. The next 48 hours were just bodies recalibrating. Men slept in shifts, drank lukewarm water like penance, swore to never trust a party again. The day room looked like a clinic waiting room designed by people who hate chairs. I watched all that and thought about the math of harm. How a man chose comedy and landed on control. How the joke didn't even need a punchline, just plumbing. A couple days later, the unit counselor Cheryl Lane pulled me aside. You always around when mess chooses audience, she said, half joking, half tired. What you see? Man played physician without a license, I said. Prescribed humiliation, didn't care about dosage. She scribbled something on a pad that probably said nothing and everything, then asked, you think he'll be safe in PC? Nobody's safe who thinks other people are props, I told her. Eventually, even an empty stage got a trap door. That night, I sat by the vent and listened to the air take inventory. Air will tell you what men want. How many breaths got shortened? How many prayers got started but not finished? How many laughs didn't sound like laughs once sleep removed the costume? I thought about Cornell's eyes, how there wasn't nothing in them except a mirror looking back at itself. I thought about the word family, how he used it like a passcode to a door that only opened inward. I thought about power, small batch power, kitchen counter power, bag and bag power, and how sometimes the worst harm wears a smile it bought wholesale. And I thought about the part of me that almost laughed. That uncomfortable corner of a man that says, well, it was creative, even as his stomach folds like bad news. That's the danger in here. When cruelty feels clever, you start grading it on style instead of damage. We didn't see Cornell for what felt like a year, but was probably 3 weeks. Time inside stretches like gum under a desk, sticky, embarrassing, hard to clean up. Then one afternoon, keys jingled, doors whispered, and he reappeared on the tier with a paper bag of property and that same I miss me grin. The unit shifted around him like a dog testing a fence. He made eye contact with me first, always the man who recognizes the cameraman. Big bro, he said. Don't, I said. He laughed. Of course he laughed. PC changes a man's schedule, but not his sport. He moved different for a day. Humble costume, chin tucked, steps soft. Then by breakfast he was joking about lactose intolerance like a comic who found his brand. What if we do sorbet next time? He asked the table, eyes scanning for volunteers, scalpels behind his teeth. Nobody signed up. Even kindness learned its lesson. The retaliation talks died public style, but prison has private rooms. Whispers traveled, assignments floated. Desmond Lane told Wesley, Grant told Autumn Lewis, told Travis Boyd, told nobody out loud. Everybody wanted justice. Nobody wanted the camera time that came with it. I understood the need to even the board. But here's the part you ain't gonna love. Sometimes the smartest play is to not make one. You don't teach a storm by throwing lightning back. See, with a man like Cornell, pain is attention. Attention is fuel. Fuel is worship. You beat him today. He smiles through busted lips and drafts a sequel. You ignore him, he starves, not fast, but enough. So I started a different project. I turned the unit toward a story that wasn't his. Organized a domino tournament, got Imani West to keep the bracket, had Cedric White ref the close calls because he the only man both sides believed and half the room owed. We made a loud thing legitimate, cheers, claps, trash talk of the wholesome kind, commissary prizes stacked like trophies. You ain't seen morale until you see bored men care about dots. We staged joy on purpose, gave the building a different channel. Cornell tried to narrate from the sidelines and tried to do commentary like a host who never got the email. Nobody bit. He clapped on beat for a while, then off beat, then left early. The next day, he came with a deck of cards, offered to teach a new game, but Kiana shook her head. Jamie looked away. Calvin faked sleep. Ain't no sound lonelier than applause you practice for a room that ain't a 10. Did that stop him? Number? But it slowed the part of him that thought he was the only theater in town. And that's important. Men like that are like weeds. You don't yank first, you starve the root. Still, some roots run deep, and he needed a finale. I felt it coming like pressure before rain. Day room got bright with nothing. Evenings got heavy with whisper. He would try again. Different angles, same sermon. I own your next move. The question ain't if, it's how. And whether we'd hand him the stage or move the furniture before he walked in. I stayed up that night, ears open, eyes on the ceiling paint that knows too much. Somewhere 2 tiers over, a man cried into a pillar like it charged by the minute. Another coughed himself empty. Keys passed like a metal breeze. Footsteps made their tiny promises. I thought about ice cream and evil, about humor and hunger, about the alchemy that turns somebody else's pain into your personality. I drifted off finally, not to sleep, but to strategy, because part of surviving is storytelling. Who gets to tell it, who gets to edit it, and who gets turned into a punchline that don't land no more. And that's where we were the night Sick Joke decided he needed an encore. He wasn't done yet. Men like that never are. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.